Hey gang, Dr. G, the Imaginarium. It's Sunday, Mysteries of the Psyche time. I got a doozy for you today. We're talking about a study by Langer et al. From a book. I'm going to put a link in the description of the video that you can check that out. This is one of the first studies in mind-body unity. Now, what they did in this study is they took elderly men ages 70 to 75 on a retreat that was reportedly to study the effects of reminiscence. They gave them a vague explanation like that. Now, what they did, it was a monastery in New Hampshire, retrofitted with furniture, appliances, and periodicals, all dated 20 years earlier. So that would be the 70s at the time of this experiment. They had two groups as well. One group, they told them to treat the retreat as an opportunity to mentally inhabit the past and try to make yourself feel as you once did. And well, that's what they told both groups, actually. In the second group, they had to go one step further and say, inhabit and be who you were 20 years prior to that. So they had one group that was instructed to feel as though they were in the 70s, and another one instructed to feel as though they were in 1959. Nothing, and they were strict about their instructions. They had no discussion of anything that happened after 1959. Be who you were at that time. After they spent time on this retreat, then they had them undergo various measurements, and they studied their hearing, their vision, their memory, flexibility, hand strength, manual dexterity, both before and after the retreat. Now, you can probably tell where this is going. After the retreat, there were improvements on all these measures studied. And the second group that were told to live as though they were themselves in 1959 actually had measured results that were even more impressive than the first group. So what they were demonstrating here is that even the idea of being younger seemed to have measurable physiological effects on all these different levels. So, of course, the next question is, what does that mean, really? And I think that the answer to that is going to strongly depend on what your theoretical background is. Now, I would say that for groups such as the IPSA, the Institute for Psychosystems Analysis, who study hypnotic effects at great depth and have a really amazing background, theoretical background in this, would call this an example of autosuggestion. So as it's well known from this point of view, autosuggestion can affect physiology. And that would be one way to explain this phenomenon from that point of view. The psychodynamic perspective would be to argue that there are very powerful symbolic mechanisms going on here, by symbol meaning not just merely a semantic expression, but a visuospatial and other sensory representation of an idea or collection of ideas that go beyond what the ego can really comprehend cognitively, but extending out into the realm of what is felt. In a psychodynamic point of view, that's recognized as fully being capable of affecting physiological parameters. Mind-body medicine, same thing. From experimental psychology and medicine, you might hear this described as a placebo effect. Now, I should say that placebo effects have had kind of a negative connotation over the years, until more recently, maybe the last 10, 15 years. Things labeled as placebos are no longer seen so much as fakery and quackery and all that kind of thing, like the labels that it used to have. So now, which of these is correct? Actually, I probably think all of them are. There's lots of different ways to look at the mind and the psyche and the body, and it all kind of depends on your perspective. Now, hopefully, experts in these various fields are going to chime in on the comment section below and maybe generate a little discussion about this interesting phenomenon. In any case, interpretation of this sort of thing is very complex. So remember also, too, that the ego has its part to play here. And if you're talking about ego defenses, ego fantasies, power fantasies, complexes, and all that kind of thing, can feed into any sort of idea that is going on in your head that might have physiological effects to it. Okay, so that's the long story short. Is when mind and body are one, that includes some of the things that might be negative about what you're thinking, or even the defenses that are at play that you're not fully aware of yet. So that's where working with your therapist, your psychiatrist, your your caretakers or whatever is very important. So if you like this kind of stuff, of course, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I've got stuff like this every Sunday coming out. Also, you can check out my website, ericgoodwyn.com, where you can get on the newsletter, get some free exclusive content there, and also you won't miss any new stuff that comes out. So that's what I got for you today. Tune in next Sunday for more Mysteries of the Psyche.